have a few poses here that I'm going to show you for cycling. So they can be used for warm up or warm down stretches. So what I would probably recommend with your warm up stretches is that you don't keep them too static. Okay, so static is where you're just holding a pose. Okay, so dynamic, we want a little bit more movement, so we're warming up into the body gently and actively. So if we take static poses, particularly like in our hamstring stretches, we might be actually going a little bit too deep into the muscle, and then we're losing that contractile part of the muscle that we actually want when we're doing our sport. We want a little bit of contractile tissue, so we have that power and that explosiveness. So if we overstretch into the muscle pre our workout or pre our race, we could actually be counteracting what we're trying to do. Okay, but we can do dynamic stretches before, so I'm going to show you both, and I'll say whether they should be done before or after. Okay, so we're going to start again. I've done this with you before, so we've got the palms open to the ceiling. So this is lovely just for getting, so this is our trapezius stretch and a little bit of shoulder mobility. So we're going to roll the shoulder blades back, palms open to the ceiling, sit nice and long into the spine. If you need to sit onto a cushion here just to tilt the pelvis forward, really important that we keep that spine long, that core engaged, because that's helping us with our posture on the bike. We're going to inhale, arms out, reaching up, interlocking fingers, pressing the palms toward the ceiling and pressing those arms back in line with the ears. So we feel it between the shoulders. As we exhale, pressing the palms forward, stretching the traps and in between the shoulders. We'll do that twice more. You can do this 5 to 10 times. Again, there's really no limit on how many you do. It's just how limited you are for time, but we're bringing that nice space into the shoulders. So this is a dynamic stretch, so it can be done before and after. Just warming up into the joints, into the muscles, into that upper back. We're going to inhale, arms out. This time we're going to extend both arms out in front. Palms are down, and we're going to place that right arm underneath the left, and then we're going to bend both elbows so palms are toward us, and then we're going to twist through the wrists. So I've called this a little twisted arms. Okay, so I'm not going to use the yoga terms for this. It's a nice little stretch to get in through the traps. Those elbows are bent, and we're going to try to bring the elbows up in line with the face and draw the shoulders away from the ears. Maybe taking the gaze up to the fingertips, and maybe lifting those elbows a little bit more. And don't forget to breathe. Again, you can always bring this into a fold if you want to release it into the lower back. Feeling it a little bit in the glute here too. And looking back toward the chest, feeling it within the neck. And then inhale back to center. And again, we can just hold it here. We can keep it dynamic or we can hold it. We're not going to upset the muscles too much. Unlocking the arms, we can reverse the crisscross of our legs if we're working with a little glute stretch. Again, arms extended out in front, palms up this time, left arm underneath right, interlocking at the wrists, drawing the elbows up in line with the face, drawing the shoulders away from the ears, and again gaze goes up if it feels okay, and gently lifting the elbows up a little bit more. So really feeling this between the shoulders. Holding it here for a few breaths, and then if we wish to bring it into the lower back and glutes, hinging forward from that lower back and gently releasing it down. Again, gaze goes back toward the chest, releasing the back of the neck, and then slowly inhale it back. So that can be done before and after, and then release. Again, just even little shoulder rolls, just to keep that mobility. From here, nice little twist. We love our twists. So again, before, I'd probably keep it active enough. So we can inhale, arms out, reaching up, left arm forward, right arm behind, left hand rests on the leg. Inhale, reach through the spine, exhale, rotate that right shoulder back. Hold it here for 5 to 10 breaths. And then when we're done, we can gently rotate to the other side. Again, we're not going to overstretch into our rotators, so this can be done before and after. And again, we'll do the same on the other side. So I'm not going to hold it for all the breaths. So again, 5 to 10 deep breaths. Every exhale, draw that left shoulder back a little bit more. Really looking back over that shoulder. So you should be feeling a nice stretch into the right side of the neck. And then slowly draw it back to centre. Okay, so that's one variation of the twist. If you want to keep it quite active, we can lie back on the mat, knees touching, feet the width of the mat apart, cactus arms if our hands lie on the mat, otherwise hands back by the sides, and just gently releasing the knees side to side, looking out the opposite way as to where the knees are falling. So that's a nice little dynamic twist, really pressing the knees down toward the ground, really pressing the glutes and lower back into the mat, getting a nice little massage. So again, that's a nice little twist dynamic. The next one I have you doing is our figure 4. So figure 4, feet grounded, hug in the right knee, rest that right ankle just below the left knee. Need our towel for this one. We're going to inhale, left leg off the mat. Check in there, my lower back is grounded onto the mat. That left foot is relaxed, that right foot is engaged to protect that right knee joint. And again, interlocking hands behind that left hamstring, or in this case, we're going to use our towel so we can keep that space in the chest. So wrapping it around the back of that left hamstring, walking the shoulder blades together, opening the chest. We're going to inhale, lengthen the spine, press the chest upward. And as you exhale, draw that left knee a little bit closer toward the face. So again, we can choose to stay here, so we're releasing into that glute. Again, this is a lovely one to do. You can do this, again, not holding it for too long pre-workout. And then we can press that foot up toward the ceiling, bringing a little bit of ankle mobility into it. So ankle mobility is really important for cycling, particularly for that pedal stroke. So you'll notice cyclists are able to flex their foot a lot easier than they were able to point the foot, but we do want motion in both directions, and then take a few little circles. So we're going to do that on both sides. A lovely one to do after a ride is that same one, but we can take it to the wall. Hopefully you can see me here. The wall in this case is going to be the door. So again, we're just taking the weight out of the foot. Okay? So we're not having to hold it at all. That foot is resting against the wall. We might have to extend the foot up. We might need to move our bum a little bit closer to the wall till we feel that stretch. So that's a lovely one to do. Again, while you're at the wall, you can bring the bum right up beside the wall and come into our V-leg stretch, or our legs up the wall. Again, that's a post cycle. Lovely little pose to do. Hamstring stretch. I probably wouldn't do this before. Again, we don't want to open up too much into the hamstrings, but the hamstrings, when you think about it, when we're cycling, they're constantly contracted, so we do need to release them a little bit, okay? So you can, if you do a hamstring stretch before going out on the bike, so our hamstring stretch, we're just going to alienate both legs, foot into the inner thigh, knee bent, pressing the sole of the foot away. Okay, so it's quite gentle what I'm doing here. I'm not going to get too deep. So we can inhale and then hinge forward toward the knee. Okay, so I only want to feel that very little into the belly of the hamstring, but I would do this more so after. Okay, but we do need to look after our hamstrings, particularly if we're finding pain in our lower back. It could be hamstrings, could be glute, it could be non-activation of the core. So there's loads of things happening here, but we do want to keep those hamstrings nice and what would the word be? Mobile, I guess. We don't really want them to be too long. Okay, so we do want that contractile tissue, again, particularly for cycling, because we do use it. You can always use a foam roller as well if you find those hamstrings are particularly tight. Our twist, so we've done our twist. Quad stretch, oh yeah, lovely quad stretch. This is a lovely one to do. I actually find, even though it's a static stretch, it's a lovely one to do either before or after. Just to release into those quads, particularly if you have been quite active the day before. So we start on our side, but then we're going to bring that lower leg out to a 90-degree angle, all the joints, and then we're going to bend that right knee. We're going to reach back with our right hand. So we're keeping that right knee down toward the ground, and we're pressing the foot into the hand. So I actually find this one, if I'm tight in the quads, and I do this even before I run or cycle, it really, really helps We're pressing the hips forward but keeping the core engaged, and you'll notice that extra little bit of stretch into the hips and into the upper quad. And again, we'll do that both legs. Simple, simple, no stress in the body. And we can release a little bit more into the quads than we would in our hamstrings, just so that we can engage with them. Okay, so we do that both sides. And then downward dog, I have to wide-legged child's pose. Downward dog, again, walking it out. And I think I've put, what have I had for you? 1 minute. Just walking it out. So this is actually a better hamstring stretch for before your ride. So I probably take away that static hamstring altogether until after. But downward dog, walking it out before and after. Pressing the hands into the mat so you're feeling that nice space in between the shoulders, that length in the spine. We're rocking the hips side to side. We're getting a little extension into the sideways. Pressing the hips toward the ceiling. So it's brilliant, and you can keep doing that. If you find this is a little bit too much in the wrists, you can always make little claw shapes with the hands, or you can place a towel underneath the actual wrist to keep them elevated. Or you can grip onto your blocks. And then, what I say, between each downward dog, we come into a wide-legged child's pose. Again, toes together, knees width of the mat apart. We can keep the shoulders active here if we want. So we're really trying to open up the spine here, creating that space in the lower back. So hopefully you won't get that pain so much, but this is just part of it. We also need to do our core and stability to really get into it. Okay, so, and then our last one is just our psoas, our hip flexor release. So again, we're just going to do a lunge and reach for this one. You can do it where you hug your knee into the chest, that's also a psoas release. But for here, we're just going to go into a nice high lunge. We're going to keep hands on the hips to start with. And then we're going to extend that right arm up toward the ceiling, and we're going to reach over to the left. And you should feel that all the way up that right hip. Again, if you need to, you can always bring that down onto the knee. The big thing here is reaching through that hand. Gaze can go up if it feels okay. So you'll feel it's a little bit deeper when you're off the knee, but you're still getting into that stretch otherwise. And again, we can hold it here. We're going to do that on both sides. And we can hold it for, again, 5 to 10 breaths. So it's really whatever time you have available. I would say, depending on what you've been doing, like if you're already doing a lot of stretching, yoga, Pilates, anything like that, you might need to spend so much time. I'd say 10 minutes really, but if you do feel particularly stiff, so it depends on the day, sometimes those 10 minutes might need more, or maybe you're okay on that day and you need less, or maybe you've been doing something that morning or the evening before. So again, your body's going to tell you a lot more than I am. And then I have a little core strength for you to do, and this is including glute activation. Okay, so if our lower back is feeling pain, often it's because we're dumping into our lower back. So you notice here, if I'm dumping into my lower back, my core is extended, it's loose, okay, it's not engaged. My pelvis is tilted forward, which I don't want, and it's pulling on my glutes, and when my glutes are pulled on, they're weak, they're not able to engage, okay? So all of that is contributing to this lower back pain. So we talk about a posture on the bike. We want a nice long spine where the core is engaged, the glutes are active. So the glutes are our firehouse for cycling. If they're not working, then we're going to have to recruit other muscles. And we're recruiting, in your case, perhaps it could be the lower back, and that's why you're feeling that pain. But that lower back, those back muscles are more for holding our posture. They're not for cycling, okay? They're not for driving our legs, but they will be recruited if those muscles, those drivers aren't working, okay? So what we want to happen is we want our pelvis to tilt forward, and in order for that to happen, we need to engage our core and we need to straighten our glutes. And you'll actually feel that automatically happen as I tilt my pelvis forward, core is engaged. Touch the glute muscles, you'll feel them a lot more active than when the tummy's sticking out. Okay, so just do that a few times. And even actually that as opposed trying to get that activation of core with glutes, and you'll feel that space created in the lower back as the pelvis tilts forward. Okay, so that's what we're looking for with our core poses. Few here, again, nothing too new. Plank, 10 to 30 seconds, repeat 3 times. So our plank, again, shoulders in line with elbows and wrists, elbow creases forward, pressing back through the heels. The hips are not dumping down toward the ground and the bum's not up in the air, so it's that nice little neutral space between. Chest lightly over the wrists. And again, if that's too much for you, you can always drop down onto the knees, still keeping that length in the spine. If it's too much in the shoulders, so when we're in this, we don't want to be jumping into the shoulders, so we're pressing the ground away. So the more you press the ground away, the easier it is on the shoulders. If it is still too much, please feel free to come down onto forearms and do it that way. Okay, so if that's just your plank, then when you're feeling good within that, we can add in a leg lift. Okay, so from our plank, we're going to lift one foot up at a time in line with the hip, pressing back through the heel, and we're going to hold it for 10 breaths on each side. So you'll feel your glute activate here as well as your hamstring to keep that leg in place. Okay, so we do that both sides. Then we're going to come down into our tabletop, and we're going to do a little energy flow here. So we'll have our right arm extended, left, so alternating between right and left, and again check in here that lower back. So automatically the belly starts to drop, the bum starts to pop up. So we're going to tilt that pelvis, engage the core. That left leg is going to drop, so we're going to have to activate that left glute to lift it, extending that right arm out. And then from here, just to get the glute and hamstring a little bit more, we're going to bend the left knee. So we'll inhale center, and then we'll exhale knee to elbow. Inhale center, bending the knee. Exhale knee to elbow. So we'll do that both sides. So we can hold it out for 5 to 10 breaths, and then we can do 5 to 10 movements each side. So this doesn't have to be done before or after. This is just a little core strengthening thing for you to do in your own time. So I'm just showing you the poses so that you have them. So that's our tabletop, elbow to knee, got that. High lunge, again coming back into our high lunge. This is also good for our core. Just checking these joints, okay, so that knee is not dropping in, knee is directly over that middle toe. Nice high lunge, arms out, reaching up. As we exhale, we're going to bring the right arm forward, left arm behind, holding it here for 3 to 5 breaths, pressing back into that heel. We'll inhale center, and this time as we exhale, we'll come into our warrior, but with hands wide. Again, 3 to 5 breaths, and then you can bring it a little bit flowy. Inhale center, exhale twist. Inhale center, exhale release. Inhale center, exhale twist. Inhale center, exhale release. And again, continue that on both sides. So that's a high lunge. Bridge pose, excellent for both the core and the glutes. We'll start just by holding it. So lying back onto the mat, shoulder blades together, fingertips trailing back toward the heels. We're going to press the feet into the mat, press the hips up toward the ceiling, little bit by little bit. We're going to walk shoulder blades together. We can either press the hands into the mat, or if we can make a little fist by interlocking the hands, that's brilliant. We're going to press that fist into the ground, pressing the hips up, tucking the chin a little bit so that the neck doesn't feel under pressure. And work with that lovely full belly breath. So the more we fill that belly, the more stretch we're getting into the front of the body. We're using the glutes to get that lift. So feel those glutes fire here. Keep the core engaged. Press those feet into the mat, get a little bit more lift. So we'll be holding this for 5 to 10 breaths or more if you can. And we'll do that 3 times. So we release it vertebrae by vertebrae until our lower back's on the ground. And then just gently again go back to that twist, just twisting it out between holds. When we've done that, we're quite comfortable with that. We can bring a little leg lift into it. So again, coming into our bridge. But from here, extending that right foot out so that the thighs are almost together and the foot is pointed outward. And we'll hold it here. Again, lifting the hips. So we're having to really work that left glute. Maybe press it away a little bit more through that right heel and drawing the toes toward the face. So again, we'll hold it there. Again, 5 breaths each side. Release, twist it out, or just take a break in between, or hug the knees into the chest. And then the core crunch sequence with the yoga blocker ball. This is a little video. I'll forward it on to you as well. But again, if you have your block or your ball, neutral spine, grounded into the mat, knees bent, hip, knee, knee, heel, heel, toe. Start with block on our left leg, hook the elbow, cradle the head, and extend that foot out to 45 degrees. Again, we can place the right hand on the hip or onto the ground beside us. We can hold it here. If the neck feels a little bit stressed here, relax the back. This just helps us in core access a little bit more into our upper abs. So we'll inhale center, exhale, press it away, 45. Want to make sure we've no space in that lower back here. So we're really pressing that lower back into the ground to keep it neutral. And it's a slow, controlled movement. The lower that leg drops, the more we're going to have to work the core, but we don't want to lose that connection with the lower back on the mat. Okay, so you do that for both sides. If you can do, again, 5 to 10 both sides. Next one, we've got our block lengthways. We'll hook both elbows. We'll lift the head, gently resting the back of the head into the hands. So that should feel quite relaxed here. Keeping that connection, we'll inhale center, exhale, extend it out to right, 45. Inhale center, exhale left out to 45. And we'll continue that both sides. Again, 10 to 20 here if you can. And then our last one, we're going to place the block between the knees, really pressing the block into the knees, and then we're going to extend the legs out. We're going to caress the head into the hands and just hold it here. Again, hold it here for 10 to 20 breaths if you can. The longer you can get the hold, the better. And with time, just building on that. But again, making sure that lower back is into the mat. You'll actually feel the core nice and strong here. And again, just twisting it out side to side to let it go. So that is your stretches, your warm up, your warm down, and then a little bit of core work. So the core work can be done whenever. Really important to focus on activating the core, the glutes, that whole hip complex in order to help us release that lower back. And then we talk about posture on the back. So we're always doing yoga on the bike when we think about our posture. We're keeping that long spine. We're drawing the shoulder blades away from the ears. So keeping the chest open. So what happens often when we're cycling, we start to tense up in the upper body. And then even with that, that's going to pull on our middle back and our lower back. So that's going to tilt the pelvis forward. That's going to not allow us to activate our glutes, and it's going to deaden those tummy muscles. So even just how we hold ourselves. So we want to think about nice long spine, drawing the shoulders back, sitting the sit bones firmly back into the saddle, and a nice smooth drive through the legs. Okay, so happy cycling.